Hello everyone, Find Me Nole here. Hope y'all are having a wonderful day so far. Have you ever talked to someone about a certain interest, say for example, Halloween Horror Nights, and you discuss about your favorite mazes, your least favorite mazes, what you like most about the event, what you like least about the event, just stuff in general, and then they give you an opinion that just gets you so riled up, that gets you just so fuming, like why would someone have such a wrong opinion? We've all been there. I mean, there's always that one person that's always got to stick out from the crowd. But on a more serious note, it's just them having an opinion that just happens to be an unpopular one. And that's pretty much normal, just for all kinds of fandoms and other topics in general. And that's what's going to be the theme for this video. I'm going to be sharing with you guys my top hottest takes of Halloween Horror Nights. Now, again, these are very unpopular opinions, hence the title, but yeah, just try to be respectful in the comments, try to say oh, you're wrong, you're blah blah blah, you're so weird for having this opinion, shame on you, mods, burn that guy's house. Again, these are unpopular opinions, aka hot takes. The point of this video is to share thoughts that I have that I know is not a thought that most people in the fandom have. But that's the beauty of unpopular opinions. If everyone had the same exact opinion for every single thing, discussion would be so boring. So I compiled about 8 hot takes in total for this video, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys why I feel the way I feel with these thoughts. Now my first hot take involves mazes. You know they're always going to have different rankings from other people. I like X house better than Y house. I think Y house is not as good. It's just so overrated. I can go on and on about having those kind of hot takes, but for the hot take that I'm going to be listing in this video, probably the hottest one, is that Trick or Treat back in 2018, I want to say, the one that housed Little Sam. I noticed it's a big fan favorite. I mean, everyone loves the movie, myself included, and those fans of the movie actually enjoyed the maze. However, I didn't think it was all that great. Now, don't get me wrong, I didn't dislike the house. I just thought it could have been so much better. I believe the movie came out around 2008, 2007, and fans of Horror Nights have always wanted to see it at the event for that long. So when it finally came, 10 years later, everyone was excited, everyone was pumped up. Little Sam, we're finally going to see him at Halloween Horror Nights. We're going to see all the other characters and other scenes from the movie as well. It's going to be so exciting. It's going to be really exciting. And I was really excited too. But my very first time that I walked through it, I was vastly disappointed with it. I don't know if it was because my expectations for this maze were so high, but when I walked out, I just felt incredibly underwhelmed. When I first saw the facade, I adored it. And then when I first walked in, I was kind of digging it so far, but then I noticed a certain pattern was happening in this house. Oh, you walk into a scene from the movie and then you walk into a bunch of black dark hallways and then you go through another scene of the movie. And then we move on to the next story that they're recovering, the school bus massacre. And then you see a set piece that's really cool. And then you enter through more black hallways with an occasional Sam jump scare. And then you go through the woods with all the werewolf chicks, and then little Sam makes a cameo in the corner. And then you go through more dark hallways, and then you'll see another werewolf pop out, or a zombie kid popping out. And then you go through the Creel house, and then you see the old man, and then you see Sam running around, and then more black hallways, and then the exit sign. I was just very underwhelmed. That's it. All this time that we've been waiting to see Trick or Treat at Horror Nights, and this is what we get. Yeah, I was genuinely upset with how it turned out. But thankfully, the more times I walked through it, the more I did appreciate the finer details. The set pieces that they did have were really cool. The characters and the costumes were really cool as well. And the choppy and harsh transitions I was a little more forgiving with. With each walkthrough, it was more and more tolerable. So yeah, overall, I did enjoy it. I did think it was a fairly decent maze, but overall, I just thought it could have been so much better. Again, I know it's a fan favorite, but it was never a personal favorite of mine. Second hot take of mine, the Toxic Tunnel was a bad scare zone. Yeah, I know. Toxic Tunnel, again, is another fan favorite with Horror Nights. It came for 3 years in a row at the Backlot Scare Zone where, the tunnel is obviously. And, the scare actors are always fun in those scare zones, you got the flashing lights and you got the dubstep music and you got people getting riled up, coming up to guests and scaring them and trying to act like they're chopping them up with axes and that's all fun and all. And I remember right before Dead Exposure got announced, a lot of people were convinced that it was going to be Toxic Tunnel. And when people thought it was going to be Toxic Tunnel, people were genuinely excited, wow, we're going to see Toxic Tunnel again after so long. And I'm just I mean, yeah, okay. Toxic Tunnel is probably like one of the worst scare zones we've ever had. Is because here's the thing, like there's no like little to no decor in that actual scare zone. I mean, I get it because like actual golf carts like pass by through that tunnel to get through like different like film and TV productions. I get it. The only decor they did had, or like the atmosphere, if they want to call it that, is just usual Halloween Hornets and Hollywood stuff. Just strobing lights and dubstep music. In terms of like the actual look of the monsters in Toxic Tunnel, they're just people in like hazmat suits, not even hazmat suits, like people in like safety vests and stuff. And they were wearing like masks from like Immortal Mask, the ones that you see in like the convention shelves. It was just a scare zone that was just kind of there. I appreciate them to add a scare zone to begin with, like as people were making their way down the back lot. Hell of a lot better than just walking through the Curious George parking lot and having like no action at all while you're walking like what seems like 5 miles. I will say this: I think the Toxic Tunnels scare zone did get a bit better every year, but that's not really saying a lot. Toxic Tunnel, I know it's a fan favorite. I know people loved it, but I did not like it. Again, scare actors are cool, but like that's like given with every scare zone. In terms of like the actual theme, it's like no toxicity vibes I was getting, and like yeah, I don't know. It was just a scare zone that was just kind of there. Next hot take that I have is that Larry Larva from last year's Terror Tram, I think is a much better character than Hollywood Harry. Now we've seen Hollywood Harry 3 times, I believe, and a lot of people love him. Every time they announce him, they're like, "Oh my god, I can't wait to see him again." And I'm just like, okay. I was never a big fan of Hollywood Harry to begin with. His backstory is hella convoluted. So he was like an old like host of a children's show, but then he was like kind of like schizo, so like they canceled the show, and because of that, he became like an unofficial mascot in like Universal City Walk. But then like again, he has erratic behavior going on, and then like people like Loki kicked him out, but like he like camped in the Hollywood Hills for so long, and then just now he started to emerge, but somehow he has like a bunch of like clown minions invading the backlog, and then he disappears for like 2 years, and then they come back, and then he disappears for like another 4 or 5 years, and then they come back again. It's like dude, like what? And like personality wise, I didn't find Hollywood Harry to be like a very captivating character, a very charismatic character. He was just like old crazy schizo man who's a crazy clown. Woo-hoo-hoo. I don't know. I never found that really interesting. I never found his character to be captivating. I'm looking too much into like a character that was quickly made for the Terror Tram, but like I don't know. Larry Larva, however, like I love the dude. I thought he was pretty cool. Unlike Hollywood Harry, he has like a personality. He's charismatic. A lot of people said that like he gave off Beetlejuice vibes, and like yeah, like I don't disagree. And unlike Hollywood Harry, who was just like simply cuckoo crazy, Larry Larva actually has a reason on why he's so evil and why he's killing people. You understand why he hates humans. He actually has motivation. And just like the concept of like this weird bug human hybrid creature just trying to like eliminate the human race is just a lot more exciting to me than just some crazy old man clown. Now I know we've only seen him once, whereas like Hollywood Harry, we've seen him 3 times, and like it's safe to say like, oh, you're just saying that because of recency bias. Like no, like I genuinely believe like with his one single appearance, I think he just completely floors Hollywood Harry. Again, that's just me. I don't know if anybody else feels the same way. I don't know. You tell me. Going back on the subject of Larry Larva and Hollywood Harry, let's talk about the Terror Tram. Terror Tram has always been like a cool, exciting fan favorite. You don't want to miss it kind of attraction during Horror Nights. It's a basic studio tour, but you actually get out of the tram cars and then you encounter like a bunch of monsters as they're scaring you in the middle of like a bunch of cool movie sets. That's always exciting. That's always really cool. However, if you're a Horror Nights fan like me and you've gone like so many years, you just kind of like get desensitized to the Terror Tram. I think it loses its wow factor after like your first experience. It's pretty much like the same thing every year, just with like a different theme, different overlay. You get out of the tram cars by the Whoville section, and then you see a bunch of like chainsaw people, and then you walk through Bates Motel, and then you see more like weird monsters, and then you pass by the Psycho House, and you could take a picture with Norman Bates outside of the Psycho House, which is always fun. And then you go through the War of the Worlds Plash Crane set. Plash Crane set? You go through the War of the Worlds set, and then you see more monsters, and then you go through like a little like indoor mini maze with a bunch of more monsters, and then the ends with like a chainsaw actor scaring you, and then going back to your little tram car. And then the past couple years, we've also seen the addition of Jupiter's Claim, which is also fun, and then we see a bunch of like tethered people from the movie Us. And then that's the end of the tram, and it's pretty much been like that for every single year that the tram has been with us. Now, like the first time, it's really exciting. Like I get to walk through like a the set of a Steven Spielberg movie. I get to walk through the Bates Motel. Like that sounds so exciting. But there's only so many times you can like get excited for like going through like the same exact route. I know it sounds like a third world problems kind of thing. Like, oh, I'm sick and tired of like walking through Bates Motel every single year. But again, like if they want to keep the Cherry Tram fresh, they should like change up the route. Since we're not using the backline anymore, why don't we just move the Cherry Tram to the Metro sets? I think that would be pretty interesting. I don't know, just some things to like change it up would be really nice. Now, this next hot take is probably gonna make me sound like a square, but honestly, I'm gonna give you guys my reasoning. I think HHN should be a dry event again, meaning they shouldn't serve any alcohol like at all anymore. For those of you that don't know, back when Hornets first started again, they did sell alcohol, but apparently there was a lot of like gang activity reported. There were a lot of fights going on. There was a lot of like weird suspicious activity going on, people like breaking in like backstage, just stuff like that. And they thought it was because of the alcohol, so they decided to stop serving alcohol altogether. And for the longest time, Horror Nights was a dry event. When I first started going, they didn't sell alcohol. They would sell like blood bags, but they were either like fruit punch or they were spiked with like Monster energy drinks. But ever since 2018, I want to say, they started selling alcohol again. And once you know it, it became one of their biggest money makers. So ever since then on, they started selling alcohol again every single year. If you ask me, I don't think that's a great idea. Again, I know I sound like a square, but look, I love to drink. I love drinking. But for me personally, I never find myself to like feel the need to be intoxicated to go to like a haunt event like Halloween Horror Nights. I've had like way too many experiences where I've encountered guests where like they just are like so drunk and like so intoxicated that they just like can't control themselves. There have been like so many altercations of like drunk people like fighting scare actors and then you're just like throwing hands with like other people in line, just like breaking the rules, being like rambunctious and obnoxious. It's just never good. I guess because it's the Halloween season, they think it's an excuse to like shut their brain off and like break all the rules and stuff. Like it's Halloween, I'm gonna get riled up. Like no, you still gotta be a decent citizen of society. For a while, I didn't understand why they got rid of the go-go dancers, but from my understanding, I've been told that they got rid of them ever since they started selling alcohol. Because like people, again, people get riled up when they're intoxicated. Obviously, they're gonna like try to grab or grope or harass the go-go dancers, so they just completely remove them altogether. I mean, I'm not to say that like alcohol like single-handedly like brought sexual harassment into Horror Nights, but like I don't know. It's just that there's just like a lot of weird and creepy people out there, and like weird and creepy people intoxicated just like makes everything just much more difficult. Next hot take I have: Halloween Horror Nights should have stayed canceled in 2021. So for those of you that weren't like in the know about Horror Nights, or for those newer fans that came to the event after the pandemic, when the whole world first shut down, they decided to cancel Halloween Horror Nights in both Hollywood and Orlando in 2020. But they reopened again in 2021. But here was the catch. All the scare actors had to wear face masks. Some of them had to like scare people from behind a plexiglass wall. And overall, the whole event was just filled with like a bunch of like COVID guidelines and like the 6 feet markers on the ground. It felt like they didn't really like spend a whole lot in the budget department because they were worried that like they might get shut down again. And it clearly shows. Like some main key components of an average Horror Nights maze were just absolutely gone. They were missing. I don't know. I just didn't feel the passion from the actors or like the people that were like involved in like creating the mazes. I don't know. Like something about it just felt off. And it was. I think it was mostly because it's due to the guidelines and like all the like safety protocols and stuff. I understand we were in the middle of a pandemic. Like they didn't want to risk like their guests or their team members getting sick and all. But honestly, I think it would have been a much better call if they would have just waited another year. If they would have just waited until 2022 to officially open back up, like go full swing, full on, full fledged Horror Nights the way it always has been, then I think it would have been a lot cooler. And when I mentioned this in my 2021 retrospective video, I've gotten quite a few comments saying that like, "Oh, why are you complaining? Just be grateful that we have a Horror Nights event in general." Yeah, I gotten a few comments like that. I would have rather had waited another year for a Horror Nights to be canceled and wait for a full fledged Horror Nights than just go to a half-assed Horror Nights. But I don't know. Again, that's just me. I don't know if this is really a hot take per se, but it is something that is worth discussing that I don't see a whole lot of people talk about or bring up. So I thought I'd just bring it up in this video. I think Hornets should just lower the capacity of guests that can go like in general, meaning they should sell like less tickets and stuff. Now, why do I think event capacity should be limited? Well, over the past few years, Horror Nights has gotten more and more and more popular, meaning there's more and more people attending, meaning longer and longer and longer lines every year. Like there was a point in time where I thought like, wow, I've never seen crowds this bad. And then the next year came and like, wow, whoa, I was wrong about last year. Like this year is insane. And then the next year passes by, like, oh my god, like last year like was nothing compared to this. And then it's just gonna continue to be that way for like the rest of time for as long as Horror Nights is still running. For those of you that don't know, there is a certain capacity with regular daytime Universal Studios. I think it's like 40,000 or 45,000. Yeah, no more than 40,000 people can show up to the Universal Studios park. But because during Horror Nights, we're allowed to go to like backstage areas, such as the metro sets in the past, but nowadays like the Curious George parking lot, and like going through a couple of the sound stages where all the mazes are located. We're technically heading into backstage, and because of that, Universal is allowed to raise up the capacity. So from 40,000, it goes up to like 70,000. So they think, oh, we can sell as many tickets as we want. We can sell like more Horror Nights tickets than we do like regular daytime Universal tickets. And to me, I don't think that's really a good idea. I'm sure Universal's not complaining because, like, more money, obviously, but I don't know. For the sake of crowd control and for the sake of, like, the guest experience, it's just gonna be, like, so frustrating just waiting, like, 3.5 hours for, like, like a 3-minute walkthrough attraction. The average guest at Horror Nights that doesn't have Express, they can only do, like, so much in one night. Sometimes people have to do the rides because, like, they don't get a chance to do so in the daytime, plus all the lines for the mazes are just way too long. That could be really upsetting. They could be really frustrating for all the guests that like wanted to check out everything. And especially with this new early entry system that has come back this year, it's just gonna be crowds are gonna be a nightmare this year. I can already see it. The crowds were so horrendous last year to the point where people were making tweets and TikToks about how insufferable the crowds were and how impossible it is to do everything without Express. I can't even imagine what it's gonna be like this year. But yeah, there should be a limit to like how many people can like show up. Some of you guys might not like agree with me, because like, oh, well then that means Horror Nights is gonna sell out quicker. Well, I mean, if it means less crowds, then like I wouldn't be opposed to that. So yeah, limit capacity, Universal, please. I know you love money, but think about the guests and their experience, please. And my final hot take for the video is going to be an interesting one. I'm looking forward to an era in Horror Nights where John Murdy is no longer the creative director. No, no, I know that sounds bad, but just hear me out. I know a lot of you guys are fans of John Murdy. I mean, like, say what you want about the guy, but the guy was partially responsible for like keeping Horror Nights the way it is right now. He's kind of part of the reason why it's successful as it is right now. But I am looking forward to like the new blood that's eventually going to take over the creative reins of Horror Nights. Again, like I know John Murdy is beloved, and like he is good at his job. You can tell he's very passionate about his job. He loves making mazes. But there's only so many times where I can see like the same old bag of tricks with like a bunch of the mazes and stuff. Not to say that he lacks any like originality, but yeah, you can tell that like when you can just tell when a maze was made by John Murdy. Like you can see a John Murdy production when you see it. So when I say that I'm looking forward to a Murdyless era, that doesn't mean I'm going to be celebrating his departure from Universal Studios. Like, no, that's not what I mean at all. I'm looking forward to the fresh new blood that would eventually take over the creative reins. I would love to see another like visionary like artist try to like come up with a brand new like mazes. Maybe give us some stuff that we've never seen before at Horror Nights. And I know for a lot of you guys like it's hard to imagine Horror Nights without John Murdy. But hopefully when Murdy does eventually retire, like the new blood that's gonna take over is just gonna like bring something new to the table, and that new thing is gonna be like very exciting. And maybe it's just something that Hornets has been missing this whole time. You never know. Either way, I am very much looking forward to like who becomes the next creative director. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, all of my hot takes for Halloween Horror Nights. If you disagree with me, if you're like all riled up, if you're fired up, hence the name Hot Takes, because of how wrong I am, go ahead and let me know down in the comments. Just be respectful, of course. Or if there's any people that agree with my takes, let me know. That's kind of the beauty of having unpopular opinions. Like, it's always cool to like discuss like why you believe so, and like it's always cool like to show like counterpoints and like why you disagree with them. Do you have any hot takes or unpopular opinions involving Horror Nights? Let me know down in the comments. If you like what you saw, go ahead and give this video a like. If you want to see more content like this, go ahead and click the subscribe button. If you stuck around to the very end of the video, thank you so much for watching. And until then, See you all in the fog.